Welcome to Box Free with Stephanie. Today I want to show you how to make some basic foods with simple ingredients from scratch. And I hope that you can discover learning to cook from scratch, and box free is fast and delicious. So let's cook together. Today we're going to make granola because that is something that I feel like people always buy at the store and it's kind of expensive and it's super easy to make at home. So let's just start. The first thing I'm going to do is take some honey and coconut oil and get them heating in a pan. Coconut oil is something that is firm when it is at like 73 or cooler, and so you don't want it to be hard like this. You need a nice liquid. So we're going to just warm it up in our pan just enough to basically melt it and get it combining with our honey. So I take a 1/4 cup of coconut oil and about like that. Okay, and then this is just on a low heat again because the purpose is just to melt them together. We don't really want anything to boil or get very hot here. The nice thing about not boiling it is I like to use raw local honey. I got this from a friend of mine who has honeybees, and so I certainly don't want to heat my honey if I don't have to because the oven's going to already heat it up. All right, so everything in this recipe is kind of easy. It's a 1/4 cup of all the wet ingredients. So we need a 1/4 cup of coconut oil and now a 1/4 cup of honey. About like that. Okay, put that in. And again, we just want this to liquefy and blend together. And that's going to be added to our oats. So I'm just going to kind of let that sit there and smelt a little bit. I'm going to get my honey drips here because can't waste any honey. Yum. Okay, then the next thing I'm going to do is chop some almonds as soon as I get all this sticky honey off my fingers. Okay, so when I make this, sometimes I put my almonds in my food processor and make them almost like a sand, but I don't know, I've decided I really don't mind chopping, and then I get some nice chunks. Okay, so let me show you. This is like already melted quite nicely, and that's really all you're going for. So I think what I'm going to do is just turn my heat off and let that just sit with a little bit of residual heat in there. I don't want to lose any of it, and let that sit while I chop my almonds. So I use raw almonds for this, and you can use any kind of nuts you want. If you don't like almonds, you can do pecans or walnuts or whatever you want. Okay, I'm supposed to have a cup, and we're going to call that good enough because that's the end of my package. Okay, so I'm just going to chop these up. And again, you could put these in a food processor if you didn't want to take the time to chop. And these can get a little bit crazy when they're so big. I probably needed a bigger cutting board, but we're just going to work through it. And this recipe is something that I just happened to find, I don't know, probably 2 years ago. Over the years, I've had lots of different granola recipes, and I think that I like it, and then I make that for a while, and then I find another one, and I discover like, oh, I like that one so much better. So if you have a certain kind of flavor or sweetness that you really prefer in granola, you may find that you have to alter this recipe or just find a different one. It really depends on what you like in your granola. I don't like mine to be very sweet, so mine only has a 1/4 cup of honey, and then I am going to add another 1/4 cup of brown sugar, so it has, some sugar in it. But some people like to add peanut butter to their mixture with their oil, and if you were to do that, I would just say maybe don't add the brown sugar. But I mean, granola, you can just do anything you want. Add anything. Okay, so I'm thinking that this is pretty much good enough. So if you were to put this in your food processor, you'd end up with things that looked pretty much like this. Just like super fine and hardly any big chunks. But these chunks look good enough for me. They're not too huge. I feel like I'm gonna have a big mouthful of almonds in my granola. Here I am, keep chopping. I guess I feel like I need them just a little bit smaller. Okay, so if you don't want to do it by hand, just throw it in your food processor or whatever. Just throw them in there whole. Doesn't really matter. It's your granola. Okay, then I'm going to add this to my mixing bowl. And you really do want a big mixing bowl when you're making granola because you're going to have a lot to stir. And it's just kind of hard to stir in a small pan. Okay, so there is my 1 cup of chopped almonds. Now I'm going to add old-fashioned oats. I always like the old-fashioned oats when I'm doing granola. You could use the quick oats, 3 cups of these. And then if you use the quick oats, I think it's just not as chewy and not as chunky. And so maybe you would like that better. It's totally up to you. And then in this bowl, I'm also going to add my 1/4 cup of brown sugar. Shoot, I did this wrong. So normally I do my brown sugar first and my thing's all clean. So let's see. Okay, so we're going to do, this is my 1/2 cup and I need a 1/4 cup, so we're just going to do half of this, mostly because I don't want to get my brown sugar all over in this messy thing. It'll be kind of a bummer, pain. So we're just going to do it like this. So that's 1/2 cup. Good enough? All right. And then you just basically mix this up, and then we're going to add our liquid with a little bit of flavoring. So you want to make sure that you get your brown sugar all mixed in here. It's not that hard or anything, but you just want to be aware of it. And I like the brown sugar in granola. Again, it gives it that nice caramely flavor, and it just, I don't know, seems a lot better to me. Okay, there's a big chunk. That's what I want to avoid. Okay, so once you feel like all your brown sugar is mixed in, then you just dump in your liquidy stuff, which is all nice and liquidy and perfect. So we're going to do that. So this is 1/4 cup of coconut oil, 1/4 cup of, oh, I need to add my extracts. So for this recipe, because I have the almonds in it, I'm actually going to use almond extract and vanilla extract. I think this is the first recipe that I used that called for almond extract, and I discovered I really liked it. Like, I don't know, I just really thought it was pretty good. And it's kind of crazy because you add a 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla, okay, which to begin with is really not very much. I mean, vanilla is so good, you usually add a bunch of it. And then you get to the almond and you add 1/8 of a teaspoon, which just seems like such a tiny, teeny, tiny amount. But I don't know, you can taste it, especially if you go over. Sometimes I do go over. Today wasn't so bad. Okay, so I actually did the right amount. But anyway, I like the almond extract in there too. And you don't, again, you don't want to heat your extract because they are alcohol based, and so they'll kind of burn off. You'll lose the flavor. So you basically do it after it's cooled, or, you know, not when there's direct heat. Okay, and then I'm just going to pour this in. I kind of do it in stages, I guess. And you end up with most of your coconut oil because the honey sinks. And then I just stir that in. And I like to do it in batches, I guess, just so that I feel like all of the first part of the liquid is all blended in. And then I just do my other parts here. And I don't want to lose any of that good oil and honey, so I'm going to scrape it all out. And then, like, that's it. I mean, it's just super fast to make homemade granola. And granola is one of those things that seem to be really expensive in the store. And I don't know if it's because all the nuts that they add to it, but it's just really easy to make. I mean, you can't really mess it up. I suppose you could burn it, but I mean, like, it's just... And then you could do whatever flavorings you want. So like I said, I keep mine pretty basic. You could add sunflower seeds, peanuts, like I said, almonds, pecans, walnuts, whatever, chia seeds, If you are adding nuts though before you bake it, I suggest using raw nuts. Like you wouldn't want to use roasted sunflower seeds and then put those in the oven and then they're like double roasted and I don't know, they might almost taste too toasted. But that's what you're looking for, something you can almost see how it kind of sticks together a little bit. And that's all you are looking for. So then you're going to spread it on a baking sheet. You can use parchment paper, but I just don't. I don't know. It seems like it's a wasteful thing to me, and whatever. My little stoneware doesn't seem to stick too badly. So what you want to do is spread this out evenly so that kind of every surface can be roasted and toasted in the oven. That's what you're going for. So the way you know it's done is basically a different color. You're looking for a nice golden color in your granola because obviously it's not going to change shape. You're just toasting it really. So, and I don't generally, I don't stir mine. I used to, you know, the recipes say like bake it 8 minutes and stir and then bake it 8 minutes and stir and like, I just never really understood. It didn't seem like it made any difference. So now I basically throw it in the oven and I wait 20 minutes and then I usually stir it and then I'll put it back in. So I've got a little bit of chunky stuff here, but that's okay. My oven is preheated to 350, so we are going to put this in the oven. Okay, I'm going to set my timer for 20 minutes and then we'll come back and check to see how golden it is. All right, we'll be back. Okay, we're back. My timer just went off, so it's been about 20 minutes that my granola has been in the oven. I'm going to pull it out and show you what it looks like. Okay, so hopefully you can see how golden it is. It's gotten much darker in color. So I'm going to stir it, and you might be able to see some of the lighter colors on the bottom. So it's a little bit paler on the very bottom. So now is when I like to stir it because the top has that nice toasty golden look to it, but see how the bottom is much paler. So we're going to just stir it, and I like to make sure I get all the edges and my corners because those are what gets toasted more than anything. So I don't want them to get overly done. Whoops, my timer is still going off. Okay, so we're going to spread it out again, and now it should take about 5 minutes, and then we're going to get it done. And I'm not going to waste any of my little granola here. I want it all to bake nicely. Okay, so back in the oven for another 5 minutes or so, and I'm going to put it in the oven basically until the top is now nice and golden. So I'll probably check it in about 3 minutes. So we'll be right back. We're back, and it's been 4 minutes. I set my timer for 4 minutes. It just went off, and I think I'm going to call it good because it's nice and golden. I'll show you. So that's how it looks. I think it looks absolutely delicious. It smells really good. So if you stir it now, it should be kind of all uniform and golden. See how there's not the pale oats are not there anymore. Everything is golden. So I'm going to call this done. You can bake yours longer if you like a really crispy granola, but I mean, my pan is still warm, so there's going to be a little residual baking time right now anyway. And I've kind of discovered personally, I don't like it to be super crisp and really rock hard, so I kind of pull mine out once it's nice and golden brown. So you can see my chunks of almond in there. It looks just really yummy. I'm going to try to let this cool so I can take a bite. But you store it in a airtight container in room temperature. This amount fits in here nicely for my family, so I just keep it in my counter where I keep my other cereals. And you can keep it in the fridge if you're going to actually have it for more than like 2 to 3 weeks. Because of the oil in it, it could go rancid. But if you're going to use it in 2 to 3 weeks, you can just keep it in your cupboard. The other thing, I don't add any other stuff to mine. This would be the time that you would add raisins or coconut or banana chips or peanuts. What was the other thing? Mini chocolate chips. Chopped dates. My gosh, you could do anything. Dried blueberries. I mean, all those things are really yummy. But in my family, we like to be able to basically put this into a bowl and then add what we want that day. So someday we might want chocolate chips, someday we want raisins, someday we just eat it plain like this. But the important thing, no matter what you add, is to let this cool really nicely. This will probably take, 45 minutes to cool, maybe even an hour, and then you put it in your airtight container. And then you can eat it with your milk or with yogurt. You can make little parfaits. This is really soft right now, but it should kind of crisp up as the sugar kind of hardens and cools. So I'm going to try a little bite of it. It's really good. It's not really sweet. Again, if you like a sweeter granola, add more honey or more brown sugar. But I generally don't make mine sweet because I like to add the sweetness through raisins or chocolate chips or dates or whatever. Or craisins are another good thing. Anyway, that's your granola. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed Box Free with Stephanie. I really hope you make granola and your family loves it and it's delicious. And we will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.